guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2, Chapter 5.3 Notes, Day 1. Today we're talking about solving linear systems by elimination. Our learning target today is to be able to find the solution of system of equations by using elimination. So far we've talked about two different types of systems. We've talked about graphing. When we're graphing, we want it to look like y equals mx plus b. And then the other type we've talked about is substitution. And that's when we either substitute either the x or the y by itself. Okay, so we want one of those variables by itself so we can plug everything in. Okay, now some systems are more easily solved with elimination. Okay, now elimination is when systems that have the x and the y, they are on the same side of the equal sign. Okay, so it's when the x and y are on the same side of the equal sign. And those are set up to be more easily solved with elimination. So let's take a look at the examples below. Now, the following systems are set up to be solved up with a method. Which one is it? So when we're looking at elimination, we want to make sure that the x's and the y's are on the same side. So for this one, we would use elimination. Now, in example 2, see how the y is all by itself? That means we would plug it in. That's substitution. Look at example number 3. Which method do you think would be best? Well, take a look. The x's and the y's are on the same side. So that means we would use elimination. Okay? All right. The steps. So here are the steps to solving systems by elimination. You want to get the x's or the y's to eliminate. Okay, and if they're eliminate, we want them to be opposites. Okay, when we're thinking about opposites, we're saying like 5 and negative 5. Okay, something like that. Now, step 2 would be to add the two equations together and solve. In step 2, you're going to get no idea how to do that yet. That's what we're going to learn in just a second. And then step 3, you need to substitute your value into any original equation. Okay, any original equation to find the missing value. Okay, so step 1 is to get the x's or the y's to eliminate, add the two equations up, and then substitute into an original equation. Sounds like a lot, but once we go through a couple, it's not that bad. Okay, now remember, you can always check your answer to make sure it's right. Okay, so you should never be like, hey, is this right? You can figure it out, okay? You guys know how to plug in and check. So, our first one, some systems have the x's or y's already written as opposites. If that's the case, skip step 1 1, which is multiplication, and just add the two equations. So let's take a look. I like to highlight everything so I can see where everything's at. See how the x's are opposites right there? So what we would do is we would turn this into a giant addition problem, okay? And we're going to add all the columns up, okay? So my x's, negative x plus x, those cancel, okay? And we're left with 8y equals negative 24. Okay, remember the whole, even when we're doing substitution and stuff like that, we always want to isolate a variable so we can find out what it is. Okay, negative 24 divided by 8 is negative 3. Okay? So we know what the y is, we just need to find the x. You can pick any of those equations, it doesn't matter which one. I would pick the one with the least amount of negatives, so it's a little bit easier. Okay? Okay, so 6 times negative 3 gives us negative 18. Okay, and then add 18 to both sides. We get x equals 2. Okay. Okay, so once again, the answer is 2, negative 3. All right, let's look at the next one. So those are the x's, the y's, and our numbers. Okay, so which ones cancel out right away? Well, in this one, it would be your y's because it's negative 2 and positive 2. But then we're going to go through and solve the rest of it. Okay, so 4 plus 3 gives us 7x, and 2 plus 12 gives us 14. Okay, to get the x by itself, divide both sides by 7, and we get x equals 2. Okay, so which one do you want to plug into? Well, the one with the least amount of negatives is the bottom. You can do the top if you want to. And now just solve. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract the 6 to both sides. 2y equals 6. And divide by 2. Y equals 3. Okay. It's not too bad, is it? Alright, let's flip it over. Now, sometimes neither the x's or the y's are opposite. In that case, you will need to use multiplication to obtain opposites. You can choose to eliminate the x's or the y's. And the hint is to get them to become each other's least common multiple. Okay? Now, the first one says we want to eliminate the x's. Okay? So these are the only numbers that we're looking at. In front of the x is a 1. Okay? Now, to find the least common multiple, we would just list the numbers out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the lowest is 6. So, the top is already 6. I need this bottom x right here. I need that to turn into a 6. Okay, so to do that, I would have to multiply. Okay, and when you multiply, you don't just multiply the first guy. You have to multiply everything. Okay, now we didn't do anything to the top, so the top stays the same. Okay, and now we go through and cancel. So the x's cancel right away. You get negative 17y equals 34. And now we have to divide by negative 17. Y equals negative 2. Okay, so now we know that y is negative 2. We have to go back and plug in for x, or to find out what x is. And you can use, remember, either one. I'm going to go with the bottom one, because it's just x minus 2 times negative 2 equals 1. Negative 2 times 2 is positive 4. And then subtract both sides by 4. X equals negative 3. So negative 3, negative 2 is the answer. Alrighty, let's do it again. So we want to cancel the x's. We talked about listing the multiples: 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9. Okay, so the lowest common multiple is 6. So 2, I have to multiply that by 1, 2, 3. In the bottom, we have to multiply it by 1, 2. Okay, since they're opposites already, that'll work out for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and distribute. We get 6x plus 15y equals negative 33. And now to the bottom, negative 6x plus 10y equals negative 42. Okay, add those up. Your x's cancel. You get 25y equals negative 75. Divide by 25. Your y equals negative 3. Okay, you guys are on your own. Plug in to either the top or the bottom one, and then see if you can figure out what x is. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so when you're done, you should get 2, negative 3. All right, let's move on. Now, instead of canceling the x's this time, we're going to practice canceling the y's. So, we would need to do the same thing. We would list the multiples of the y's. Now, you might right away know what it's going to be. And it's going to be 10. Okay? So, we would multiply the top one by 2, and the bottom equation by 5. Now, here's the problem. Both of those are negative. I need one of them to be positive. So if that happens, I'm just going to multiply the top one by a negative just so it cancels out. Okay? So let's go ahead. Negative 2 times negative 6 is 12x. Negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10y. And negative 2 times 28 would be a negative 56. Okay, on the bottom. That's a 1 right there. So that would be 5x minus 10y equals 5. Add them up. Y's cancel. You get 17x equals negative 51. both sides by 17. And we get x equals negative 3. Okay? And now you would plug back in. You can pick it to any one. It doesn't really matter, but you should get negative 2. Right now, I just want to practice on canceling out the y's. Now, we have the same number. Both of those are 5, so you just need to multiply one of them, doesn't matter which one, by a negative, okay? And that would be a negative 1. So when you distribute that, you would get negative 2x minus 5y equals positive 11. The bottom one stays the same because we didn't change anything to that. Okay, and then you add everything up. Your y's cancel. You get negative 5x equals, that should be 10, negative 10. X equals 2. Okay, now when you plug it in, you know what number you're going to get? You should get negative 3. You know why? Those were the same problems we just did. Okay? It just proves to you that you guys can cancel either the x's or the y's. Okay? It's whichever method you want to do. Okay? Just find the one that looks easier to eliminate and do it. So, we will do number 5 together, and number 6 is all on your own. So solve by eliminating the x's or the y's. We get to pick. So those are the x's and those are the y's. Okay? I know that for the y's, I would need to get 15. But for here, I would just need 4's, okay? Because 2 and 4 are closer together. So I'm going to get rid of the x's. And I would need the 2 to be a negative 4. So I'm going to multiply it by a negative 2. Okay? So negative 4x positive 6y equals negative 8. We didn't do anything to the bottom, so it stays the same. The x's cancel. We're left with 1y equals 0. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. Now we plug into any equation, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick the first one. 3 times 0, that doesn't matter. 2x equals 4. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 2. Alright, so number 6. Go ahead and do whatever you want. Cancel either the x's or the y's. You will get the same answer either way. But go ahead and pause the video because I'm just going to put the answer up in about 10 seconds. Okay, and you should get 1, 2. Now, if you have any specific questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself because we would love to help you out. Thanks for watching.